It was in the southern part of the city, tucked away behind overgrown hedges and a crooked iron gate, that Delgado's boarding house sat like a forgotten relic. The house had been many things over the decades: a lawyer's home, a school for girls, even a temporary refuge for evacuees during the war. Now, it was just a low-rent boarding house run by the Delgado sisters, Marites and Rosenda, both in their late 60s, both oddly cold to strangers. When Elena Cruz, a young university student, rented a small attic room there, she was simply looking for quiet. She was an aspiring classical pianist and needed somewhere cheap to stay while she prepared for a music competition. It was on her second night when she first heard it, faint, deliberate piano notes drifting through the walls. It wasn't the pleasant kind of piano playing you'd expect from a music lover. The notes were slow, mismatched, almost hesitant, as if the person playing was testing which keys still worked. Plink. Pause. Plink. 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 The sound seemed to come from somewhere deep inside the house, but when she asked Rosenda the next morning, the old woman just gave her a look that lingered too long. "You must have been dreaming," Rosenda said flatly. "There is no piano here." But Elena wasn't dreaming. She had studied music since she was 5, she knew the difference between imagination and sound. That evening, Marites was serving dinner to the boarders when she made a passing remark. "No one goes into the room at the end of the east hallway. It's locked for a reason." The other tenants, mostly quiet, solitary people, didn't react, as if they'd heard it many times before. When Elena asked why, Marites' eyes hardened. "It's called the no man's room. No man, woman, or child should be in there. Ever. That's all you need to know." Of course, the warning had the opposite effect. Elena now burned with curiosity. A few nights later, the sound came again. This time it was clearer, the slow, uneven keys, and a low humming voice underneath, almost like someone trying to remember an old melody. She followed the sound down the dim east hallway, past doors with peeling paint and faded numbers. At the very end was a black door with no knob, only an old rusted keyhole. The sound stopped the moment she got close. Her skin prickled. She knelt to peer through the keyhole, and saw nothing but pitch blackness. No furniture, no light, not even the faint outline of walls. She pulled back, heart racing, and for just half a second, she swore she saw a pale eye staring back through the hole at her. The next morning, Elena cornered one of the tenants, a frail man named Mang Oscar, who had lived there the longest. At first, he refused to talk, but eventually he whispered. Before it was a boarding house, that room belonged to a girl named Clara. She was the landlord's daughter back in the 1920s. A gifted pianist. Said she could make even the saddest man cry with her music. But Oscar's voice dropped lower. One day, during a recital here at the house, she changed. She played something none of the guests recognized, a dark, twisting piece that seemed to drain the air from the room. People said her hands moved faster than was humanly possible. By the time they reached her, her eyes were rolled back, and she was smiling, not like a child, but like something that had been alive for centuries. Clara died that night. The piano was moved into the no man's room, which was sealed shut ever since. That night, Elena woke to find a folded note slipped under her door. It read, "If you want to play like Clara, come tonight." Her pulse thundered. She tried to tell herself it was a prank, but her feet carried her down that east hallway anyway. This time, the black door was slightly ajar. Inside, the air was freezing. The only thing in the room was a grand piano, old, covered in dust, but somehow still gleaming under the weak light of a single bulb. The lid creaked as she opened it, revealing yellowed keys, some chipped, some stained. She sat. Her fingers hovered over the keys. And then, she played. It started simple, an old waltz she knew by heart. But halfway through, her hands began to move in patterns she didn't recognize. The melody grew twisted, pulling her deeper into it. She tried to stop, but her hands wouldn't obey. They were moving on their own now, faster and faster, pounding the keys in violent, unnatural rhythms. The shadows in the corners seemed to thicken. She felt something pressing close to her ear, warm breath, whispering in a language she didn't know. Her vision blurred, and for a moment, she wasn't in the no man's room anymore. She was on a grand stage in some dimly lit theater, playing to an audience that wasn't human. Dozens of pale faces, eyeless, leaned forward in silent hunger. When the final chord struck, she collapsed. Elena woke in her own bed, drenched in sweat. For the next 3 days, she didn't leave her room. But something was wrong. Her reflection in the mirror lagged slightly, like it was thinking before copying her. At night, she dreamed of pale fingers resting over her own on-piano keys. On the 4th night, she heard the music again. Only this time, it was coming from inside her own room. When she turned, the black piano from the no man's room was there, pressed up against the wall where her desk used to be. And sitting at it, was Clara. Her face was still that of a young girl, but her eyes were hollow. She patted the bench beside her. "It's your turn." Elena tried to run, but the floor stretched beneath her feet like a long, endless hallway. No matter where she turned, she always ended up back at the piano. She sat, because there was nothing else she could do. And she played. Somewhere far away, in the real boarding house, Marites and Rosenda locked the east hallway door again. Inside the no man's room, Elena played until her hands bled, until she wasn't Elena anymore, but just another pale figure waiting for the next curious tenant. The piano never stopped. They say if you stay at Delgado's boarding house long enough, you'll hear it too. The end.